Council on American Islamic Relations reports an unprecedented 216% jump in requests for help and reports of bias incidents in the month since the October 7th attacks compared to the same period just last year.
In one terrible example, Waldea Al-Fayoum, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy, was stabbed to death, allegedly, by the landlord of his family's Chicago area home.
Time now for the exchange. We're joined by the National Deputy Director of CAIR, Edward Ahmed Mitchell. Edward, thank you so much for being with us. I think what's really tragic about the spike in Islamophobia is that it appears as though a lot of people are conflating the actions of Hamas, the actions of a terror group, with how they view Muslims as a whole. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? And how does that change, Edward?
Well, first, let me note that it appears to us that Islamophobia is absolutely out of control in the United States. As you noted, our new numbers show that we received 1,283 complaints over just the past month. That's a 216% increase compared to last year. That includes hate crimes, hate speech, free speech violations, employment discrimination, attacks on protesters, and also employment and school bullying. So it's a wide variety of problems that are plaguing the American Muslim community. And yes, I think you're right that there's a common habit of blaming people of color for things they had nothing to do with simply because someone who looks like them or shares their beliefs did something wrong.
Right.
But also have to keep in mind that there are people who are very deliberately using dehumanizing, anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian language to not only justify the killing of Palestinians in Gaza, but also to silence supporters of Palestinian human rights here in America. So a lot of this is happening because of a deliberate campaign of bigotry.
Edward, you mentioned school bullying, and I always find this is one of the most important areas to focus on. The Education Secretary has spent time with students and teachers and principals and how to address this issue. What is your message, and what more can be done to make sure that children not only feel safe in schools, that should be a given, but feel welcome?
You know, a large chunk of the complaints we're receiving are from students, not only in public schools, but also in colleges. We've seen schools that issued very biased, one-sided statements that acknowledge the horrific killing of Israeli civilians, but completely ignored the horrific killing of Palestinian civilians. That created a really bad environment for Muslim, Palestinian, and other students. And then you've had incidents in which teachers themselves are delivering lesson plans that are not only biased, but inappropriate, Islamophobic, racist in nature. And then, of course, bullying. Kids bullying other kids because they're visibly Muslim, because they support Palestine. All that is unacceptable. And the way we can stop that is for schools to, number one, either just stay out of discussing foreign affairs like this, or if they're going to do it, discuss it in a fair, neutral way, and make sure that they treat anti-Semitic incidents with the same level of seriousness as anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian incidents. You can't tolerate bigotry against one group of people and then oppose it against another group of people.
You know, some Muslim Americans that I've spoken to talk about just watching the relentless bombing of Gaza unfold and just saying it just feels like a trauma, like a slow trauma, a nightmare that they wake up to every day seeing those sorts of images. Some Muslim Americans have responded just politically, talking about the fact that they're not going to be voting or supporting President Biden because he's siding with Israel. My question to you is, if not Biden, then who? Because isn't the alternative a man who threatened, or at least tried, to ban Muslims from entering the country?
Look, as a civil rights organization, we don't tell people who to vote for or who to vote against. We encourage them to vote. My expectation is that we are going to see a surprise in the voting totals next year in terms of who the Muslim community supports or does not support. I'm hearing intense anger from the Muslim community about what they're seeing out of Gaza and about President Biden's not only his support for it, but the dehumanizing language, questioning the Palestinian death toll, saying that innocent Palestinians dying is the price of waging war. That has really caused incredible anger in the Muslim community, and I think among other Americans. And so the more we see images of kids being pulled out of the rubble, hospitals and ambulances being bombed, refugee camps being blown up, that anger is only going to increase, and I think all bets are off in 2024. We plan to encourage people to vote, no matter who they're voting for, but I think we're going to be in for a surprise with what happens next year.
What more would you like to see from the Biden administration in particular on this issue? Because as you know, they have launched initiatives as of late.
Look, this 4-hour humanitarian pause is completely insufficient. It makes no sense to tell Palestinians they're going to get 4 hours a day to evacuate from northern Gaza to southern Gaza, where you're going to be bombed anyway. Right? What we don't need is ethnic cleansing of northern Gaza. We need a ceasefire across all of Gaza, the release of everyone wrongly held in Gaza and in Israel, and then for the Biden administration to pursue negotiations to secure a just and lasting peace, so this does not happen over and over again. The Israeli government has made it very clear. They've said there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. That's what Israeli President Herzog said. The defense minister said that they are going to be treating everyone like human animals, and that's why they're shutting down fuel and water and other aid into Gaza. And Prime Minister Netanyahu made a reference to a biblical story about wiping out, committing genocide against people. So the Israeli government has made it clear they are committing war crimes, and our government must stop ignoring that and stop enabling it before more innocent people die.
Edward, Ahmed, Mitchell, live for us there. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us.